And I started thinking about all the things that I said I would never do when I was making six figures that are now coming back to my mind, like, oh, you won't do that, sis? You won't drive Lyft? You won't do Airbnb? All the things that in my mind were beneath me. Why? Because of pride, right? Some of us are starving because of our pride. Some of us are struggling because of our pride. Some of us don't get to utilize our skill sets because of our pride. I paid off a whole car. Why that car can't work for me? Why do I care about who gets in the back seat, and why do I need to give them a story about why I'm driving my car and they're paying me to do it? Right? These are the things that the world has told us we have to put up a facade to a degree that we are leaving money and resources on the table and not able to develop and grow because pride, you can't have pride and profits. You got to pick one. You worried about your profit margin or you worried about your pride? But even in what we're thinking about, there is a level of surrender, right, that is required by all this stuff, right? That we can believe God for his protection, we can believe him for his covering, but there is a level of surrender that is required from our lives to really walk in the blessings of God and to walk in it fearlessly, right? And some of our own lack of surrender is what some of us are scared of because we don't feel worthy of his mercy and grace. But remember, with all the stuff that we're talking about, all these blessings, they are here for us, but there's a level of surrender that comes with it. You can have your seat. I thank God for each of you. I thank God for the opportunity to speak before you. I thank God for my pastor, the best pastor in Brooklyn, Pastor Samuel, Pastor Nelver. I thank God for our overseer. I walked in and was like, so you weren't going to tell me. Pastor Sam was here, but I thank God for you. And I thank God for each person that showed up today. And I'm not going to be here. My assignment was to talk out of Proverbs 31. And related to my sphere of where I feel God has called me, which is about using marketplace relevance as a tool of kingdom influence and kingdom advancement. So my way of evangelism is by promoting marketplace excellence for the people of God. And so I was never in love with Proverbs 31. Because every time I heard of Proverbs 31, it was somebody coming for the women about how to be good wives and take care of their husbands, and it felt like a very disempowering passage of scripture for me for a very long time because it felt like it was just go ahead and be subservient, just do what somebody tell you to do, wash the dishes, take care of the kids. It did not feel empowering. And so two people actually asked me to speak out of Proverbs 31 this week. And I was like, really? And so I had to go back and read it through new eyes. And so I want to bring your attention to the entrance. I'm really going to be between verse 10 and the end, so if you can start me at verse 10. But if you start in the beginning, right, and I want to put this out there, and my voice is struggling, but we're going to get through it. If you look at the very beginning, Proverbs 31 is written by the mother of King Lemuel, and she's giving him advice on how to pick a woman. Now, he was a king, so the way we call everybody king nowadays, like you king, right, and queen, and we use it. In those times, if you were a king, you were a king, right? And a king came with a kingdom, and it came with wealth. It came with certain levels of things. So this was not just a woman telling her son to go find bae. This was a queen talking to her son, the king, and telling him how to pick a woman that was going to allow his kingdom to flourish. So what I want to say to people who use Proverbs 31 as a means to tell women to be subservient, speak to your kings, raise some kings, get them some wealth, get them some stability, and then teach them to go find women who will help preserve them in it, right? The scripture was not intended to tell a woman to take care of her husband, right, and to pay his bills. That's not what this was about. Lemuel was a king. It talks about him sitting at the gate. And so when I began to read it again, God kind of dealt with me differently about how we use scripture sometimes out of context. And folks are running away from the word as opposed to running to it because they've been beaten up by it, right? So when we use this scripture, when we're talking to our sons, when we're using it, right, and we pick the verses that we want to pick, remember that this is someone who was talking to a king. He had a kingdom, he had wealth, he had position, he had prosperity, he had posterity, and she was giving him advice on how to choose the right woman to help to gird him up and to continue moving him forward, right? It was a certain type of man that they were talking about assigning a Proverbs 31 woman to, right? It wasn't just any man. So we're going to go to verse 10 with that mindset. And it says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Okay? Now, when I stopped right here because I saw a price, I do business consulting. So that put me in the mind to say, wait a minute. We're talking about price. What this first verse is saying in chapter 10 is that this woman is rare and valuable, right? Point blank period. If we're thinking about this through the mindset of how we see ourselves as women in an empowered space, understanding rarity and value. So now I said, in this world, we think of diamonds as valuable. So why not say that she was more valuable than a diamond? Then I had to think back to an event I did recently, a little while ago, called the Gem Experience, where I had to look into different types of gemstones. And what you begin to understand is that diamonds, while they are a precious jewel, the concept that diamonds are rare was a false concept that was really created by the market to get people to pay more for diamonds, right? So the concept of scarcity was introduced to say, we're going to act like there's only 8 diamonds in the world so that y'all spend a whole lot of money. Rubies are actually more rare than diamonds. And if you get a ruby that has not been heated or a ruby that hasn't been tainted, that ruby is actually extremely pricey. I think in 2011, I think it was Elizabeth Taylor, one of her ruby items sold for millions of dollars, right? So we sometimes even think when we think about jewels and we think about ourselves as jewels and as gems and rare and valuable, people will make us think, right, that there's so much going on in the world that we can't be valuable, right? Or people will create these concepts that there ain't no good women or there aren't good women in the world, especially in our community, right? That there aren't good women, there are, right? And this idea of scarcity really is an illusion to make you feel like you have to keep trying to aspire to be something that God already says you are. You are rare and you are valuable, okay? So we starting right there. Now, if you're going to put a little business context on this, also stop selling yourselves cheap. Okay? Stop selling yourself cheap in relationships. Those of you that are in business, stop pricing stuff like you hope somebody will pay for it. Those of you that are in the marketplace, do the research and understand what your craft is worth to an employer. Take the time to see yourself as rare and valuable and apply that to every area of your life. Okay? So we keep going into verses 11 and 12. It says, the heart of her husband doth safely trust her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. So this doesn't exclude unmarried folks, right? Because I'm like, her husband, how does this apply? Right? When we think about marriage, marriage is a covenant relationship. Marriage is a partnership. So if you want to take this and apply it even in the single space, and we're not going to discount the married women, but even in the single space, who are you in covenant with? Who are the people that you've partnered with in life, and are you trustworthy in those relationships? Can they trust you to be honest? Can they trust you to do what you say you're going to do? Can they trust you to be the same person on Monday and Wednesday? Are you Janet on Monday, Juju on Wednesday, Friday we don't know who we going to get? Are you emotionally driven, inconsistent? What is that showing up? How is your consistency showing up in your partnerships, right? What does it look like? And when it says he shall have no need of spoil, are you preserving people with your presence? Are the things that you're bringing to the table, your wisdom, your knowledge, your ability, is it a preservation, or are people lacking and losing listening to you? Following you, can you be trusted, and are you trustworthy, right? In your relationships, in your marriage, same thing as well. Can you be trusted? And it's not about cheating. Can people trust your word? Can they trust your integrity? Can they trust you to show up? Are you dependable, right? As wives, do our husbands have to call somebody else first because they don't know how we're going to answer the phone? Right? Are we consistent in how we show up and how we engage? Okay? The next verse, it goes down in 13. It says, she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. Right? And I'm going to go back because I'd actually made points on each of this. So first, she's rare and she understands her value. That was number 1. 2, she's consistently trustworthy in her partnerships and she brings preservation to them. Okay? The next one, she seeks wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. This is a woman who carefully selects the best quality for her products, for her business, for the people that are connected to her, right? She sought out flax and wool when we look at this woman, okay? And works willingly with her hands. This is not somebody that's taking the things that she has at her disposal lightly. She's not wasteful. She's a hard worker, right? She's not slaving. She's intentionally a hard worker, right? And those are different things. And it talks even in this area about the careful selection of the best quality. For those of us who are, and I'm using this in different contexts, but wherever we are positioning ourselves as women, does what we present reflect the best quality of what we have? The best quality of what we can do? Are we honing ourselves to present the best quality at all times, right? So she didn't just go grab any piece of wool, any old flax laying around. She sought it out, right? There was intent and effort, okay? And it says she's like the merchant ships, she bringeth her food from afar. This woman has a global mindset, right? She's not reduced to only the resources that are right in front of her, but she's thinking about like the merchant ships. The merchant ships basically went back and forth, different places, different areas, right, to bring things from different areas. So you may not have it right here, but they're resourceful enough to say, we're going to get on this ship, we're going to take the time, we're going to go across the water, we're going to get it and bring it back. She has a global mindset, and she's willing to go get the resources and bring them back to the places that need them, okay? She bringeth her food from afar. Verse 15 says, she riseth also while it is night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. This is a woman that knows how to prioritize her time, take care of her priorities, and she understands the importance of delegating and developing others, right? She's a servant leader. Think about this. When they say giving her portions to her servants, they're not talking about the meat anymore. They're saying she gives portions of work, or she gives distribution of things to do to her servants. But when you read the one before that, it says she giveth meat to her household. She didn't delegate the giving the meat to her household to the servants. She did that work herself. So she served her household first and delegated things, right, to her servants to do. So she's teaching and clear about what do we delegate. I want to pause for a minute because a lot of us treat delegation, treat how we empower others really by giving them the stuff that we don't want to do. Right? So I'm going to delegate the service work because I don't really want to do that. I'm going to delegate the stuff. I'm going to delegate the bathroom cleaning because I don't want to do that, but I'm going to come in here and do the stuff that everybody can see, right? A lot of times in our lives, we are not leading well because we're delegating the dirty stuff. This woman didn't delegate, go feed my house, go feed my kids, and I'm going to go over here and be great. She did that work herself and then delegated real work, right, to her maidens. Now, we can think about the maidens or the people that were working under her, but they were actually learning a trade. This is a woman who has a global mindset. She knows how to find the good wool, the good flax. She knows how to go get resources. So she's delegating tasks to them that are not her around the house, I don't want to do it stuff. She's also empowering them to learn how to do something that they obviously didn't know how to do, right? In our delegation, are we teaching people? Are we mentoring people? Are we building people up? As women, who are we building up? And I'm going to tell you, I don't care what you think you don't know how to do. If you know how to get a good ponytail together, because that is a skill. If you know how to get the middle and the sides and everything to meet and get the scrunchie on it before this side puff out and it's not lopsided, it's in the middle, that is a skill. Somebody is paying for that because my ponytails be a little off-center. Okay? We forget sometimes that the things that we do are skills, right? Especially as women of color. The things that we inherently do. I'm listening to this coronavirus, and I was laughing. I said, so basically the cure for corona is wash your hands and don't let nobody put their hands in your face. Who mama ain't said that already? Wash your hands. Don't come in my house. Don't sit on my sheets with your street clothes. Wash your hands and don't let nobody put their hands in your face. Get your hands out your face. Keep your fingers out your mouth. This is stuff our mamas have told us a million times. Now, this is the whole way to keep corona from spreading. So we all like, cool, I was doing that already, right? My mother allowed me to do this stuff. A lot of times we minimize, and the world makes us minimize our traditions. It makes us minimize the things that we do. And then they turn around and wear boxer braids and we confused, right? Because they told us we was ghetto when we had our cornrows. The things that we already do, the world does and makes value out of it. And we often don't realize we are rare and valuable as we are and maintaining that standard and position. Right? So teaching our young girls how to groom themselves, how to take care of themselves, teaching them how to clean up, teaching them how to put their stuff together, taking time to invest in them and not sending them to their room. Right? Because they're getting on your nerves. Take the time to invest. We're in church. Everybody doesn't have a mama to do certain things for them. Right? Everybody doesn't have a big sister. So why not doing that for each other as women who are rare and valuable? Right? Says that she looks well on the ways, and I'm skipping to 27 because this one aligns. So there were certain verses to me that align. I'm not going to make you skip all over the place, dog, because I don't want to get us lost. But if you have something to look on, verse 27 also says, she looked well at the ways of her household and eateth not at the bread of idleness. So this is, again, a woman who is intentionally working, right? And looking at her household. What do you consider to be your household? So if I live alone, right? So it's my household, but I have to think, what other households, what families, what groupings am I a part of that I should be looking over the ways of those households and adding value? Okay? Eating not the bread of idleness. I do a consulting group, and so we were on a call yesterday, and one of the things that came up was procrastination. And one of the things that everybody said was they spent a lot of time watching TV. We can unpack that all we want, but a lot of that was surrounded around the idea of escape, right? Television, if you boil it down, is an alternate universe, an alternate reality that you are watching. And most of us watch it without realizing that we're just escaping our lives. Right? We are crying over these characters. We falling out over these characters. We don't want the show to end. What am I going to do on Thursday nights now that such and such done ended? I can't believe Tyreek done. You know, like, we lost in all of this stuff. And the truth of the matter is we've become so desensitized. We'll watch the news and flip the channel. But a character will die that's still walking around in the street, and we will lose sleep, cry, fall out on Facebook, right, over fake deaths. But we will watch injustice in our communities happening to real people and turn the channel, right? It's a way of escaping our reality, right? Where are we as women looking at these things? Why are we not crying for women's sons and daughters that are in the streets, right, being lost? As women that are rare and valuable, why are we not finding our place and our opportunity, if nothing more than to grieve with them, right, to offer them hope in their sorrow? Where are we showing up? Right? That's what starts to make us valuable and important, okay? It goes down in verse 16. It says, she considereth the field and buyeth it, and with the fruit of her hand she planteth the vineyard. So she already got the flax in the wool. She's already working her hand over here, and now she got a field. Now she buying a vineyard. She got all these multiple streams of income we've been talking about. You know all the stuff that we talk about, like it's new business models? This stuff was in the Bible forever. Right? She had multiple streams of income already. So she's working with the flax and the wool. She's making these garments. Now she done took that money and flipped it. Right? Now she's bought a field. She considered the field. She thought about it. She made a wise investment. Right? She bought it with the fruit of her hand. So she worked again, got some more stuff together, planted a vineyard. She is making herself able to build wealth. I'm going to pause for a second. A lot of us think about business as the key to generational wealth. It is not the key, it is a key. Business building and wealth building are not the same. Okay? You can build a business as part of wealth building, but what else are you doing? On your 9 to 5, they tell you, you come here. I'm going to pick somebody random. Who in here works? What do you do on your job, Natalie? She's a resource assistant. So from 9 to 5, she's a resource assistant. I don't know what is all involved in that, but her job tells her from 9 to 5, you do what's on this job description. This is all you do, and we give you a wage, right? We come out of our 9 to 5, some of us with our side hustles, with our entrepreneurship, with our gigs, and we do the same mindset over there. So now I said I do consulting. So I came out of 9 to 5, and now I'm going to come over here and only consult. What about all my other skills? I came out of 9 to 5 to be free, to use all parts of myself, right? I came out to be free, to engage, and what we do is we come out of a 9 to 5 space, and we only then come over here to do one thing. What about all your other skills and abilities? What about all the other resources you have? So this woman didn't just say, I only do wool and flax, right? Now she's in real estate. I don't know if she was she started a winery because she got vineyards. I don't know what she was doing, but she was in multiple spheres and places. As this rare and valuable woman, no job is ever going to pay you your whole worth. What are the other things that you've been given to do to generate wealth? No one business model, even if it makes you millions of dollars. Now, you got to think about this. This is a woman married to a king. So she's not broke. And she's still working this hard. She's married to a king. Some of us is like, if that NBA player married me, He could cheat all he wants. I'm going to just be over here living his best life, right? Some of us have reduced ourselves to being financially taken care of, to furniture, right? To a car. Just maintain, the oil changes and all that stuff, and we good. We get to a place where we think we've gotten satisfied, so we don't even strive for more, right? This is not a poor woman. She has handmaidens. So she's not struggling, but she's still working. Some of us don't work until struggle kick in. Some of us ain't really start thinking about working until they started cutting hours, right? Being ahead, this woman is thinking about constantly. I don't think she's just money chasing. I think she is utilizing every bit of herself, every bit of her ability, every bit of that rare value that she knows God gave her to continue to produce into the world, okay? And you start thinking about that in a different way. She's also not prideful, right? This is a woman that's willing to work, okay? And I think, I was processing the other day. And so I paid off my car last year. So I was thinking, I was like, I'm in entrepreneurship full time. I don't get my 2-week salary. And I started thinking about all the things that I said I would never do when I was making 6 figures that are now coming back to my mind like, oh, you won't do that, sis? You won't drive Lyft? You won't do Airbnb? All the things that in my mind were beneath me. Why? Because of pride, right? Some of us are starving because of our pride. Some of us are struggling because of our pride. Some of us don't get to utilize our skill sets because of our pride. I paid off a whole car. Why that car can't work for me? Why do I care about who gets in the back seat, and why do I need to give them a story about why I'm driving my car and they're paying me to do it? Right? These are the things that the world has told us we have to put up a facade to a degree that we are leaving money and resources on the table and not able to develop and grow because pride, you can't have pride and profits. You got to pick one. You worried about your profit margin or you worried about your pride? But you can only feed one. Right? Many of people have had to do less than work, whatever you want to call that, to build their businesses and brands. They won't tell you that in 2020. 2020, everybody looked like they winning. 2030, people going to tell the real story. In 2020, I was cleaning bathrooms. They're not telling you that now because every time you see a picture, they on sand, right? They doing this. That sand is on their living room floor. They on their terrace. You understand? They had a hotel room. They cleaning the rooms, and then they going on the balconies and taking pictures, and you thinking they're living their best life. That stuff should not be beneath us, right? It's an honest wage. This is how you build wealth. Building wealth is about not leaving a penny on the table, right? What things has God given you to do that you are not utilizing because it's quote-unquote beneath you to utilize it, okay? Then verse 17 says, she girded her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. And this one got me because I equated this one. Sis go to the gym. Sis is taking care of her body. Sis understands that she has people relying on her and she has a work to do, right? So she's not okay with saying, I'm going to just go ahead and eat what I want to eat, do what I want to do. Now, clearly, y'all can see me standing here. So y'all know that I'm not on the skinny side of this conversation, right? But I had to think about some of us are taught, oh, God going to give me the strength in my hands. Some of us are sick because our immune systems are compromised because we eat trash. It ain't got to be a virus. It don't have to be the hand of the enemy. Diabetes, it's a generational curse. No, it's all that sugar you put in that Kool-Aid. Stop giving the devil all of this authority. We throwing away curses. We claiming stuff. It's how you eat. Generationally, if you look at, we all think we're descendants of Africa in some way, right? So we're going to talk about generational. High blood pressure and all that stuff is not something that's rampant in those countries. It's how you eat. Your generational curse is that your mama fried it and your grandmama fried it and your great-grandmama fried it and you fry it. That's your generational curse. Bake it and break the curse. Bake it and break the curse. We've made some of this stuff so major, and it's really more simple than this. Right? The stuff that we eat, the stuff that we're taking into our bodies, the stuff that we're feeding our kids, right? We giving them medication for their mind. Stop giving them all this sugar, and they'll stop running around the room all day acting nuts, and they can sit down and focus. Give them a vegetable. Give them a vegetable that you cooked, that you went to the market and got, because the stuff that's in a can, the stuff that's in a bag, the stuff that's in a box, this stuff, the preservatives, the stuff in there, right, has us acting insane. Hormonal imbalances, women can't carry children. All this stuff. This stuff is in the stuff that we're ingesting, the stuff that we're rubbing on our skin, taking into our bodies, and we're calling it curses, and we binding it and throwing it on the altar, and then you going back home, putting the same stuff back on, eating the same stuff. You ain't do nothing at the altar. You did yoga at the altar. You went back home and put the same stuff back on. Right? This woman takes care of herself and seeks to strengthen her arms and to make sure she understands that her body cannot fail her. There's an urgency when you realize that you have an assignment, that your body cannot fail you. We look at it in the fashion. We look at everybody. I looked at Angela Bassett this morning. I was like, Lord, if I can look like her at 40, I'll take it. Right? But you look at what she eats. This woman, I looked at her interview. She said 3 days a week, she eats nothing but fruits and vegetables, 4 days a week. On the following 3 days, she has fat. So I was like, okay, let's talk about them following 3 days. Sis said, but they healthy fats. I move right back over. Avocado and salmon. And so I'm like, wait, that's your cheat food? Right? When you think about that. Now, I don't know what prompted her. It may have just been trying to have longevity in her career. Right? But understanding that she at some point realized that something in her life that she was doing meant that she couldn't eat whatever she wanted to eat, right? That there was a trade-off. When do we get so intentional about the thing that God told us to do that we understand that our bodies cannot fail us? We can cast away premature death. We can do all that stuff. Some of this stuff is in our control. Right? Your bodies, women, you are valuable, you are rare. No one else can do your assignment, so your body can't fail you. Take care of it. I'm talking to me first. Trust me, I was looking at this one long. Like, I'm going to skip 17. I'm going to go on to the next one, right? But it can't fail us. We have a work to do. We have families to be here for. We have people who are depending on us, right? Our bodies cannot fail us, okay? 18 says, she perceiveth that her merchandise is good, and her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and she holds the distaff. This is a person she's just not satisfied with doing enough. I looked at my work being good. I was satisfied with my work, and I went back to work. How many of us be like, oh, that's good, I'm going to bed. I'm done, right? This is a woman that assessed her work. She looked at what she had put her hands to and said it's good, and then stayed up and kept burning the midnight oil. Continued to work, right? She laid her own hands to the spindle. Don't say she delegated everybody else to touch the spindle, right? And her hands to the distaff. If you go to 24, verse 24, it says, she maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto merchants. So now she got woolen flax. She got the field. She got the vineyard, and now she's selling clothes. Okay? She's working. Verse 20, and it goes in, it says, she stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. This is a woman that uses her resources to help others, but there's a caveat. Look at all the other stuff that happened first before she got to the poor. Now, I'm not saying put the poor to last. What I am saying is that some of us are trying to help poor people as poor people. If I'm poor, I can't help you not be poor. So some of us we have good charity in our hearts. We're trying to give. We're trying to do those things, but we haven't taken the time to do the work to build up enough to be real resourceful. I love the videos where there's the two homeless people outside, and they got a slice of pizza, and they cut the pizza in half and give it to each other, and they sit together and be poor together. But at the end of the day, in about 40 minutes, they both going to be hungry again. And they can't empower each other past that. Right? And a lot of us are doing that. We're like that thing where two homeless people outside, here's your cut, and we still going to be homeless tomorrow. Right? Looking for something else. They talk about if you on an airplane, the mask fall, put it on your face first, then help somebody else. If you really want to help people, be so intentional about helping other people that you actually get yourself together. Right? She did all this stuff. Then it also says she stretched out her hand to the poor. And she reached forth her hand to the needy. It doesn't say that she gave them money. Nowhere does it say she gave to the poor. It says she stretched out her hand. The idea of stretching out your hand means that she simply reached out to them. that she engaged them, that she wasn't shying away from them, that she didn't throw them away, she didn't walk past them and look the other way. Maybe she set up mentorship programs. I'm making this up. The Bible don't say it, right? But it also don't say that she just dropped coins in their cup. It says that she reached out and she stretched out her hand. The same hands that she was spinning wool with, the same hands, right, that it says above in 19, she layeth her hand to the spindle, she holds her hands to the distaff, and she stretches it out to the poor. It's the same hand. These working hands are always looking to do something and to add value somewhere, okay? A lot of us think it's enough to hand somebody $10. Or I give to charity. Where are you stretching out your hand? Right? I was in the mall the other day, and I'm looking at with this corona situation. I'm almost like somebody could fall down and be laying on the ground and need help, and everybody going to be walking by looking like this, right? We don't stretch out our hand. We walk away, right? We don't want to see it, right? But how of us are stretching our hands to the poor? The Bible says the poor, they're always going to be among us. And it's not always the homeless person on the sidewalk. Some of our families have poor mindsets. Some of them are poor spiritually. When's the last time we stretched out our hand? Or are we holding on to our salvation in an incubator because we can't go to the family reunion? If your salvation is that low that you can't go to the family reunion and they can't play one song without you losing it, you wasn't that saved. That's about you and the altar. If you got to backslide because somebody else is drinking, that's an issue, right? And some of us are this corona thing, I'm laughing. Some of us treat our salvation like this quarantine. We running out, and we run to church, and we run right back indoors and close the door because I got to hold on to my, they're going to mess up my spirit. Your spirit was not good. If the person walking past you on the way out the door can tear your spirit up, your spirit wasn't good. Think about what corona is saying. Corona is saying it's getting people whose immune systems are already compromised. So it's the same concept if you apply it here. Some of us are treating our salvation like it got to be in an incubator. You can only be tarnished if it was already compromised. If you already had an issue in it, then yes. So what's the issue? Then fix the immune system. Get your relationship back intact. But this idea that we run from service to home, no one is being benefited, and God is definitely not glorified. Right? We have to be able to reach out and stretch out our hand to the poor and reach out our hands to the needy. Okay? Verse 22, I'm almost done, I promise. I got 3 minutes. It says, she maketh coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. So she also took care of herself. Right? She didn't neglect her. She made good things for herself. She practiced self-care. And when you get down to verses, and I don't want to glaze over self-care, right? Because I know I said that real fast. She takes care of herself. She made herself. This is the first time I see silk. I saw wool and flax, right? I saw other materials, but now I saw fine linen. But she gave herself silk, right? We can't give others better than we give ourselves. Right? She gave herself purple as a color of royalty, right? So when he talks about what she gave herself good, but she didn't do it at the expense of what she was able to give others. I believe that because of what she gave others, because of what she put out in the world, and because of the value she was able to generate and bring in, she was able to buy her silk. She was able to buy her Louboutins and still eat dinner and still pay all her bills and still have money left over. Right? She was able to do those things. So I'm not speaking against them, but she did them after she had taken care of the things that she needed to take care of. And when you start looking at it as a result, right, she's not afraid of the snow, verse 21, for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She ain't worried about the stuff that's going on. Right? She's not worried about, when we think about afraid of the snow, parallel that to what's going on in the world, climate, acts of God. You can't control the weather, right? The same way you can't control these things. She is unbothered right now during Corona because her family good, right? She is unbothered when the rest of the world talking about they falling apart. She catching them $2 flights, right? She's good and unbothered, okay? But she did the work, okay? It says her strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. There's a rejoicing for her. Some of us, the work just feels like it doesn't go away. There is a time of rejoicing. Do your work hard. There is a promised time of rejoicing. Okay? She opened up her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is the law of kindness. Now, this is the first place we hear her saying anything. She's worked enough to be able to have wisdom to give to somebody else. Right? She knows what to do. She knows how to do it. And now she can be of an advice. We got all these coaches. I never wanted to say I was a coach. They finally got me to say something like that the other day. All these life coach, your life is raggedy. Relationship coach, you don't like your boo. Career coach, your resume is trash. How are you coaching us through something you've never gone through? Right? And so many people are doing it. This is a woman now, when you look down all these works, and now she's saying that she opens her mouth with wisdom. Right? Because she has something to say. Her experiences and what she's navigated gives her words to say that can benefit somebody else. Right? Her children rise up and calls her blessed, and her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord shall be praised. Wait a minute. When did the Lord get here? I didn't see nothing here about service, church, prayer, worship time. I didn't see where she read her Bible. How did we get to the fear of the Lord? How are we ascribing this woman to a woman that fears the Lord? Because she worked hard? I am led to believe, stop me if I'm wrong. I'm led to believe that when we really fear God, we don't lay dormant and idle and let our gifts be dormant and idle. I think that what this is identifying is that this woman, potentially driven by her fear of the Lord, used everything that was at her disposal to do what she needed to do to bring benefit and to bring glory and to bring prosperity and to bring honor. It does not call her a prayer warrior. It does not say that she was travailing. She worked. So for those of you that are working your jobs and you're in the marketplace and folks trying to tell you you don't love God because you go to work, it's a lie. This woman feared the Lord, and nowhere here did it say that she was laying on the altar in sackcloth and ashes. Now, I'm not saying that she didn't have a prayer life. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not saying, but it says that she feared the Lord. That fear of the Lord connected to this narrative of a woman who is a hard-working, kind, gentle-hearted woman, where I don't see nothing about her ministry in here, right? She was a woman after God's heart because she feared him enough to do what he gave, with everything that he gave her to do, right? Let's go to the parable of the talents. Why was God upset? Why is the master angry? He's angry because I gave you something that you did not even earn. We don't earn a talent. You don't come into this world and pay for your talents and your skills and your abilities. They're handed to you, whether you get 2, whether you get 4, whether you get 5, 10, 28. They're given to you, and it's disrespectful to God to take a gift that he gave you and bury it and say, I was just going to wait for you to show up and come get it back. What did I need you to be a container for? He didn't need a purse. He needed somebody to duplicate what he gave us. The insult to God is in addition to the fact that we don't pray, in addition to the fact that we don't worship him. But how many of us understand that our work is our worship? The fact that we get up every day and acknowledge that he gave us something to do and to perfect it and to work over it. If God gave me the gift to sing, and I don't treat it with no regard. I don't work on it. I don't do vocal drills. I don't do anything. I'm essentially telling God I give no value or concern to the thing you gave me. Let me bring it home. How many in here, I'm talking to the ladies now, have bought an item, a shoe, a bag, a shirt, a skirt. You wasn't done with it. It just didn't fit, wasn't comfortable, etc., and you gave it away. You gave it away. Nothing was wrong with it, but you gave it away. Raise your hand. Raise it high. Now, when you seen that shoe and it was run over on the side, the person that scuffed it, the bag strap was popped, they had bleached the shirt, they wasn't wearing it right, it didn't go with them shoes. You didn't feel a way? Who didn't feel a way? Did you feel a way? Raise your hand if you felt a way when you gave away something that you knew was still valuable and nobody treated it well. What do you think God feels like with the gifts he's given you? If you mad over a shoe that you could not fit, a skirt that you ain't never wear, still had the tags on it, and you still want to pay attention to how somebody treated it, what do you think God thinks about the talents he gave you that you're doing nothing with? Call it humility, call it shy, call it I'm scared of rejection, call it I don't want to be seen, put whatever tag you want on it, you ain't doing nothing with what he gave you. Period. So when he says he'll take it and give it to another, it's not even because you didn't use it right. It's because you didn't use it at all. He can work with you if you use it bad because you're using it. right? If the one, I got to believe if the one with the 2 talents went out and lost one, right? He wouldn't have thrown him away. He'd have said, what did you do wrong? Let's figure out how you lost one. But the fact that you put it away and then claim that you knew me, let's park right here for a second. We claim we know God, and we're burying his talents. What did he say to that man? You couldn't have known me, because if you knew me, you would know what I actually wanted you to do. We're claiming that we know God. We're claiming a relationship with God. We're doing nothing with what he has given us. Okay? It just caught me like, where did we get to the fear of the Lord? How did we get here? The fear of the Lord should constrain us to not go back to him full of what he gave us. It should constrain us to do something with our giftings and our abilities. That doesn't mean everybody is going to be the worship leader. It doesn't mean, but you go to your jobs, you're in your families. This woman was on I don't see her on anybody's pulpit. It says her husband sat at the gate. Her husband was the one sitting at the gate talking to everybody while she was creating value and wealth and managing things, but she was so valuable. The husband that was at the gate was calling her a blessing. Right? Some of us, the people who are visible, are going to be calling us a blessing because of the work that we're doing behind the scenes with every gift that God gave us. Right? You got to think about these things. I had watched it, and I'm literally almost done. There was I think it was called The Godfather or something on Netflix. It was about this gentleman that was in the music industry, and they were talking about his life. Now, do you know what I'm talking about? Pastor now. Sorry. We've been friends for a long time, so sometimes I slip. But it was a Netflix special called The Godfather, and what they were saying was, what the narrative kept being is, people had an issue, and they would go get this black man, very unassuming. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't, and everybody would be in the room like, who is this guy? But he would come in, and the people on top knew who he was, right? And then he would go back into obscurity. And there was so much, all these people were told, you wanted something fixed, you call this guy. You want to get something done, you call this guy. The Quincy Joneses and all these people are talking about, they go to him for resources. I don't remember the man's name, I promise you. I remember watching it and saying, Lord, I want to be like that. Maybe I don't, right? Because everybody can't do the mega rooms and everybody's not going to fill out. I know what we all want to say. We're going to fill out the stadiums. Everybody's going, okay, it's nice. Everybody can't fill out the stadiums. There's only so many of them, right? But what about you're the person that the people packing out the stadiums is coming to for guidance and support, right, and help because you have the wisdom and the information. Even when we think about prophets, the prophets in the days of old sat with the kings and told the kings how to get ready for what was coming. The prophets weren't running up and down the aisles telling people to color their stockings. They were getting nations ready for what was to come, getting them prepared, calling them out on their sins. But a lot of times they were in the ear of the kings or the ear of the people who had decision-making authority. Why? Because those people were dictating what was happening in the other levels. See yourself as valuable, just not to be visible, but to be impactful. Whose ear do you have? Who can you speak to that nobody else can speak to? Understand the value of that. Understand the value of that. I'm done. It says, give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her at the gates, right? There's a fruit to each of our hands. There is. There's something for each of us to do. And our works will praise us at the gate. What are our works saying about us? God gets me first all the time. What are our works saying about who we are? What are our works saying about how much we love him? What do our works say about how much we even value what he's given us? Low self-esteem is disrespectful to God because you're saying that what he gave you is trash. That what he gave you is not valuable. The body he gave you, the abilities he gave you is less than. Right? Some of these things are not, he doesn't like them. He doesn't enjoy them. Why? Because they minimize his gift. They minimize what he created. Pastor Sam said it earlier, said that he formed the woman. When we walk around looking at ourselves as less than, we're saying that something that God took down and formed and blew life into is not worthy. We are the works of God's hands. When we don't take the time to develop ourselves and to build ourselves up, when we tell ourselves negative things about ourselves, when we don't take the time to study, to know, to be able to engage, to be able to grow, to be able to use our intellect, our giftings, our abilities to the best that we can, I know some of y'all don't want to go back to school. But he wants you to stretch your intellect. I know it's alone. I know you can get a job without a degree. I know all the stuff that they told you, but he's giving you a mind. He's giving you a mind. Now, if he tell you not to go back to school, don't go. But if you just decided to go because you thought you're not smart enough, think about the reasonings that we're taking some of these other steps and decisions in our lives. You may say it's because of the loan, but you really feel like you don't think you're smart enough. You think you're too old. Your grammar not good. I'm sitting in law school right now with people who can't put sentences together. But they thought of themselves, right, enough to go through the process. Some of us won't even apply because we don't think well of enough of ourselves. What does that say about God when you don't think well of you? You didn't give yourself life. So when we talk about, I'm driving here, all I can hear is I give myself away. There's a level of surrender. Going back to what I said when I got up. There's a level of surrender. And a lot of that surrender is not just the weeping at the altar surrender. It's even surrendering your thoughts and your assumptions about yourself to what God has already said about you. Right? Surrendering all of your I can'ts, I'll nevers, what they said about me. Surrender the fact that you have the right to be hurt. Some of us have navigated things in life where we are hurt and we have the right to be. Right? I'm not telling anybody to get over anything. You have the right to be upset. Surrender the right. Because it's not serving you. You have the right to be mad. You have the right to not think a certain way. You have the right. It's validated. If you tell us a story, we're going to be like, ooh, sis, you right. Surrender the right. Right? Surrender yourself. Surrender the I can't do it. The surrender I'm still stumbling. Surrender the sin that nobody know about. There ain't nobody calling you on. Surrender it. Because all those things impede us, right, from being that woman that sees herself as rare and valuable. That's the Proverbs 31 woman, a woman who understands that she's rare and valuable. So because she's rare, no one else can duplicate what she does. The power of rarity is that there's not 90 things that can fill that space. So what you have to do is so rare that it's not easily duplicated. It's so valuable, everybody can't afford it. So if you don't do it, what is we going to do? I don't want us to end on a heavy note, but just being reflective. What do you need to give away? I have my list of giveaways. I was struggling with my list in the car. There's some things I need to definitely give away. When we say giving myself away, Lord, I surrender. We say that, but what are we giving away? Right? For Lent, we give away meat. We give away social media. That's cute. You're going to pick it back up in 50 days. What are you actually giving away? What mindset are you willing to give away? What unforgiveness are you giving away? Right? What relationship, what soul tie, what are you willing to give away so God can really use us, right? Because most of the time, if we really love God, we can't do our work with that stuff anyway because we feel so condemned. You want to help people and you can't. You sitting next to somebody and you feeling them and you want to pray. And the devil says, you can't pray. You don't even pray for yourself. How you go? You ain't got no prayer life. Who you going to pray for? And in that moment, God would have used you, but because you didn't give something away, you don't even feel worthy to be used. How many opportunities do we miss to help and empower other people because we didn't give something away so that God could use us in that moment? Bring it down to that area. And I know we've all done it. I have done it. I've been at work and wanted to witness to somebody, and because I had cussed somebody out 3 days ago because they said something crazy to me, now I sure can't be like, well, Jesus can't do that. Truth is, I probably could have done it, but that's what the enemy had me to believe. I could have said, I know I cursed so-and-so out the other day and I was wrong, but I really want to come and tell you about Jesus. Because my frailty doesn't make him wrong, right? But we don't feel empowered to do that. Why? Because we don't give those things away. Give them away and he'll take them. We want him to come snatch it from us. Give it away, walk away, let him come take it. But there's an action in us to give it away. So I just want to say you guys are wonderful. You're beautiful. You're rare. You're valuable. You're full of talents. You're full of abilities. You're full of business ideas. You're full of nations. You're full of wealth. You're full of ideas. You're full of innovation. You are full of forgiveness. You're full of healing. Everything that you need is inside of you. And this is not about self-worship, but the Holy Spirit lives inside of you. Everything you need, right? He is empowering us to do everything we need to do. He is in you. Stop looking at everybody else. They're going to let you down. They're going to offend you. Bible says when your father and mother forsake you, he'll lift you up, which tells you that mothers and fathers can forsake us too, right? What you have, what you need, tap into it and realize your value and worth so much so. Fear the Lord so much so that you're going to do everything you can to bring whatever he's giving you to fruition. And you won't be blessed.